My husband was paying our 22-year-old babysitter extra to sleep with him on my work nights and told her I was okay with it, so I skipped my shift and caught them in the act. My husband Russell had been telling me for almost a year that our babysitter Hadley was the best thing that ever happened to our family. Hadley was 22 and a nursing student at the community college down the road. She watched our two boys, Owen, who was 6, and Miles, who was 4, every Tuesday and Thursday when I had my long shifts at the hospital. Russell worked from home but said it was too hard to focus on his accounts when the boys were running around. Hadley charged $30 an hour, which felt steep, but Russell said she was worth it. He found her. He set up her schedule. He paid her at the end of every shift in cash he pulled from an envelope in his desk. I worked 12-hour shifts and came home exhausted. And every time I walked in, Russell would tell me how Hadley had made the boys homemade pasta or taught them a new song. I felt grateful. I felt lucky. I told my sister Roxanne over and over how blessed I was to have a husband who handled the home stuff so I could focus on my career. But something never sat right with me. The way Russell got quiet whenever Hadley's name came up at dinner. The way he had started buying new shirts and getting his haircut every 2 weeks instead of every 6. The way he wore cologne in his own home office. When I asked, he just shrugged and said, "I'm 40, not dead. Let me feel good about myself for once." He made it sound like I was the problem for noticing. Then Owen started asking strange questions. One night while I was tucking him in, he said, "Mom, why does Daddy go upstairs when Hadley is here?" I asked what he meant and he said, "He closes the office door every time." I brought it up to Russell the next morning. He laughed and said, "He's 6. He thinks the dog talks to him too. Don't start something weird over nothing. If Hadley finds out you're paranoid about her, she'll quit. Then where are we?" I let it go. One Sunday, I was digging through Russell's desk tray for the spare car key when I found a hotel key card. Brookline Suites, 20 minutes outside of town. We had never stayed there. The date sticker on the back was from one of Russell's Tuesday nights 3 weeks earlier. I held it up. He barely looked away from his laptop. "Client meeting ran late. They got rooms for everyone. I was going to throw it out. I'm on a call. Put it back, please." I put it back. I went to bed. I lay there for hours. Russell had told me he worked from home on Tuesdays. None of that fit with a hotel 20 minutes away. The next Tuesday, I traded shifts with another nurse named Cassidy. I told Russell my schedule had not changed. At 4:30, I parked at the gas station up the street and watched our driveway. Hadley's blue car pulled in at 5 sharp. I gave it 20 minutes, then walked the back way through our neighbor's yard and came in through our own back door. The boys were in the living room watching a movie. They did not see me. I went up the back staircase in my socks. The office door was closed. Music was playing inside, just loud enough to cover anything else. I stood there for a full minute before I opened it. Hadley was on Russell's desk. Russell was standing in front of her with his pants around his ankles. Hadley saw me first and made a sound like a hiccup. Russell turned and his face did 3 different things in 2 seconds. Then he tried to smile. Hey, wait, this isn't what it looks like." Hadley grabbed her jeans off the floor and started crying. "He told me you knew. He said you guys had an arrangement. He said you picked me. He's been paying me extra. 8 months of extra. I swear to God I didn't know." Russell snapped, "Hadley, shut up." Then to me, "She's lying. She's just scared. Let me explain." He pulled up his pants and the smile that came back wasn't panicked anymore. It was calm. "Before you do anything stupid, you should know whose name is actually on the deed to this house and whose name is on the boys' custody paperwork I had drawn up 6 months ago." Hadley stopped crying long enough to look at me with something that wasn't fear anymore. It was pity. I stood in that doorway and my hands were completely still. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't crying. Russell was watching me like he was waiting for me to scream or fall apart, and when I didn't, something in his expression flickered. He hadn't planned for quiet. I turned around and walked back down the stairs without saying a word. I got in my car at the gas station and sat there for 10 minutes. Then I called Roxanne. Russell thought he was 6 moves ahead of me. He forgot one thing. I'm the one who notices the small stuff, and I had been noticing for a long time. I told Roxanne what I had just walked in on. She didn't say anything for so long I thought the call had dropped. Then she said, "I need to tell you something. About 3 months ago, Russell called me. He told me you'd been acting erratic at work. He asked me to keep an eye on you." The ground went sideways under me. Russell wasn't just sleeping with our babysitter. He was setting me up. He was building a story about me before I knew there was a story to build. He said you were forgetting things, snapping at the boys, leaving the stove on. He sounded so concerned I almost bought it. He kept saying he didn't want to worry me, but he needed someone in the family to watch out for you. Her voice got harder. "That man has been building a case against you. That's what the custody paperwork is about." I drove to her apartment. She had her phone out on the dining table and the text thread pulled up. Every message from Russell was about me. She seemed really off this week. Forgot to pack Miles's lunch 2 days in a row. A week later, she snapped at Owen tonight. I've never seen her like that. 2 weeks after that, she left the stove on. I caught it at midnight. Each one was careful. Each one sounded like a man who loved his wife and was scared for her. And every single one was a lie. I never forgot to pack Miles's lunch. I never snapped at Owen. I never left the stove on. Russell was writing fiction and sending it to my sister in real time. Roxanne said, "He wanted your own sister to sit you down and say maybe you needed help. If I had believed him, it would have been one more person saying you weren't okay." Every piece clicked into place. Russell's threat about the deed wasn't a bluff. The custody paperwork wasn't something he made up in the moment. This was a plan that had been running for months. He found Hadley. He set up the schedule. He paid her in cash so there was no paper trail. He put the house in only his name. He told my family I was falling apart. The whole time I was working 12-hour shifts and coming home dead tired and thanking him for being such a good partner. He had built a trap around me using my own trust as the walls. My phone buzzed. A text from Russell. "Come home. We need to talk like adults. Don't make this into something it doesn't have to be." Like catching him with his pants around his ankles and the babysitter on his desk was something I was choosing to make into a big deal. Roxanne read it over my shoulder. "Don't you dare answer that." I didn't. I set the phone face down. Russell could sit in that house all night waiting. I drove back the next morning after the boys had left for school. Russell was at the counter with a mug of coffee and his laptop open like it was any other Tuesday. He started talking before I could put my bag down. "I think we both said things we didn't mean last night. Hadley is gone. I let her go. We can move past this." I stood across from him and said, "What custody paperwork, Russell?" His face did something fast. A flicker around the eyes, a tightening in the jaw. Then the smooth voice came back. "That was a dumb thing to say in the heat of the moment. There's no paperwork. Can we please just move forward?" But while he was saying it, his eyes slid off me and landed on the doorway to his office. Just for a second. Like his brain was checking on something without his permission. I said, "Then you won't mind if I look through your filing cabinet." Russell stood up and moved into the hallway between the counter and his office, blocking it. "You're not going through my office. That's my workspace. His voice was flat and hard now. If there was no paperwork, there was nothing to protect. I said, fine. I'm going to stay at Roxanne's for a few days. I need to clear my head. I watched his shoulders drop, his hands unclenched. That's probably smart. Take some time. I'll handle the boys. He thought I was giving up. What Russell didn't know was that I had been on the phone since 5:30 that morning with a family law attorney Roxanne had found through a friend. She told me 3 things. The deed in Russell's name didn't mean I had no claim. If my income contributed to the mortgage, I had a legal interest. Any custody filing built on fabricated mental health claims could be challenged, and Roxanne's saved texts would matter. And if he was paying this girl in cash and telling her you consented, that's a pattern of deception any judge will take seriously. Get that girl to talk to me. I packed a bag and walked out. Russell followed me to the porch and said, I really am sorry. I got in my car and drove away. He went back inside before I even reached the end of the street. That night, I sat on Roxanne's couch staring at Hadley's name in my contacts. Every part of me wanted to hate her, but she had said the thing I couldn't stop hearing. He told me you picked me. Russell didn't just cheat. He lied to a 22-year-old's face for 8 months. He handed her cash in envelopes like she was a line item in the household budget. He used her the same way he was using me. Hadley wasn't the enemy. Russell had 2 of them, and he had been counting on us never comparing notes. I typed, Hadley, I'm not angry at you, but I need to know everything he told you. Can we talk? Around midnight, she wrote back one line. I'll meet you. Just tell me where. We met the next afternoon at a coffee shop near the community college. She walked in looking like she hadn't slept. Before I could say anything, she started talking. He called me this morning. He said if I talk to you, he'll call my program director and tell them I was involved in something inappropriate in a home with children present. They'll pull my clinical placement. My stomach tightened. He was already ahead of me. While I was lying awake planning this meeting, Russell was on the phone with her making sure it wouldn't matter. Hadley stared at her coffee. I worked 2 years to get into that program. I can't lose it. They won't even investigate. They just drop you. I leaned forward. He told you I picked you. That was a lie. He's been telling my family I'm losing my mind. He lied to both of us. And if he can threaten you this easily, what do you think he's going to do to me? I have 2 little boys and he's already got paperwork drawn up to take them. Hadley's eyes went red. He told me you were in an open marriage. He said the long shifts were killing your energy, and you told him you didn't care if he found someone, as long as it was quiet and didn't affect the kids. He showed me a text from your phone number. It had your name at the top and it said something like, I'm okay with it. Just be discreet. He pulled it up before anything ever happened between us so I'd feel comfortable. I felt something cold settle in my chest. I never sent that text. That text did not exist in my phone. Not in any thread, not in any deleted folder, nowhere. Russell either used a second phone or faked a message thread. Hadley said the extra cash started at $200 a week. Same envelope he paid her babysitting from. He bought her a laptop and a winter coat and said it was from both of us. None of it. We want to take care of you because you take such good care of the boys. The cash for Hadley had come from our account. From money I had earned working overnight shifts while my husband slept with the babysitter in the next room over from our children. Then Hadley said the thing that almost broke me. I'm sorry, but I can't go on record. If he calls my school, it's over. I can tell you what happened, but I can't tell a lawyer or a judge. She stood up and walked out. I watched her go and felt every advantage slipping through my fingers. Without Hadley, I had Roxanne's texts and my own word. That was it. And Russell had spent 3 months making sure my word was worth as little as possible. 2 days later, I was sitting in the attorney's office with Roxanne when my phone rang, the counselor at Owen's school. Owen told his teacher this morning that his mommy left and isn't coming home because daddy said so. We just want to make sure everything is okay at home. Russell was talking to my children. He was turning my own son into a paper trail. I drove to the school. Owen was sitting on a little chair with his backpack still on. When he saw me, he ran to me so fast he almost tripped. Daddy said you needed a break from us because you were sick. He said maybe a long break. I held him tight. I looked at the counselor and said clearly, I am not sick. I am staying at my sister's apartment. I am not leaving my children. She nodded and wrote something in her folder. She made a note. Russell planned this the same way he planned everything else. One quiet, careful step at a time. I called him from the car. What did you tell our son? I told him the truth. He said, you left. Kids need honesty. You told him I was sick and taking a long break. That's not honesty, Russell. That's a setup. A pause. Then, you sound really stressed. Maybe Roxanne is feeding you ideas. I've been worried about this for a while. You know that. He wasn't talking to me. He was performing. He knew I might be recording the call. He was building his case in real time. I hung up. I called the attorney. She said, he's building a narrative in real time. Every day you wait, he adds another layer. We need to accelerate. The case is strong, but it will be much stronger with a witness who can confirm the affair and the cash payments independently. What makes judges sit up is a third voice. I sat on Roxanne's floor with my back against the cabinet and looked across the room at Owen sleeping on the couch. I had to go back to Hadley, but this time with everything. I found her in the community college parking lot the next morning, sitting in her blue car with textbooks on the passenger seat. I knocked on her window and held up Roxanne's phone. She unlocked the door. I slid in and said, he's been telling my family I'm mentally unstable for 3 months. He told my 6-year-old I'm sick and leaving. He's using the same playbook on me he used on you. I handed her Roxanne's phone. She scrolled, her expression changing with every message. Then I opened my own message history with Russell. The text he showed you from my number, the one where I supposedly agreed. I never sent that. Look, I held both phones side by side. No such conversation, no permission, nothing. Hadley stared at the screens. Her hands started shaking. She got out and walked 3 steps and sat down on the curb with her face in her hands. When she looked up, she said, he showed it to me twice. I asked him about it because it felt weird and he pulled it up both times. The whole thing was fake. Her jaw was tight. The fear was cracking apart, and underneath it was anger. The kind that doesn't come from being scared, but from finally understanding how badly someone played you. I sat down on the curb next to her. He told my sister I was losing it. He told my son I was sick. He told you I was fine with it. Every person in his life got a different lie. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, he called me again yesterday. He didn't threaten me this time. He offered me money, $5,000 to sign something saying I'd never talk. She shook her head. I thought about it. I really thought about it. And then I thought about what it would mean. It would mean he pays me to be quiet the same way he paid me to be with him. Just another envelope. Just another transaction. I told her about the attorney, protected statements, ways to shield her academic standing. A judge would see the difference between a young woman who was deceived and a man who spent months building a system of control. Hadley listened. Then she said, if I do this and he still gets to walk around like he did nothing wrong, I'll never forgive myself for risking it. I said, he's going going to do this to someone else. Maybe a coworker, maybe someone younger than you. He doesn't stop because people stay quiet. He stops when someone makes him stop. Hadley sat there. A bus went by on the street behind us. A car alarm went off somewhere across the lot and then stopped. She pulled her phone out of her hoodie pocket and looked at me. Give me your lawyer's number. Hadley met with the attorney the next day and gave a full statement. Every detail. The cash, the fake text, the laptop, the coat, the specific days. The attorney filed the emergency custody motion that afternoon along with the divorce petition. Russell had no idea any of it was coming. He had been texting me all week with his calm, concerned husband routine. Roxanne picked up Owen and Miles from school that Friday under the temporary order before Russell even knew it existed. I drove to the house alone. He was leaning against the counter with a mug in his hand. For 2 seconds his face was open and I could see the real Russell, the one behind the rehearsed smiles. He looked like a man who had lost track of the board. Then the mask came back. I'm glad you came home. I was starting to think Roxanne had brainwashed you. He laughed a little, like my sister was the problem and not the man who had been sleeping with the babysitter 10 feet from where our kids were watching cartoons. I didn't laugh. I walked to the counter and set 2 things between us, the divorce filing on the left, the temporary custody order on the right. I slid them toward him and stepped back. Russell looked at the papers and his smile stayed for about 3 more seconds. Then he picked up the first one. I watched his smile collapse. That's the only word for it. It didn't fade. It collapsed, like a building that lost its foundation. Every piece of that careful, confident expression falling inward until there was nothing left but his real face underneath. He flipped to the second page and his eyes stopped on one spot. Hadley's name, her full statement, every detail attached to a legal filing that was already in the system. She wouldn't, he said, quiet and flat, talking to himself. I told her what would happen if she talked. Then he caught himself. His head came up fast. The mask tried to come back, but it didn't fit anymore. This is all lies. She's a kid. She's confused. I can explain every piece of it. I said, then explain the text you showed her from my phone, the one where I agreed to the arrangement, because it doesn't exist in my message history, Russell. It never existed. You faked it. Russell opened his mouth. Nothing came out. No smooth explanation. No rehearsed line. No redirect. For 5 full seconds, the man who always had an answer for everything, who could talk his way around a hotel keycard and a closed office door and cash withdrawals he never explained, stood there with his mouth open and had nothing to say. I let every one of those seconds pass. Then he pivoted, hands up, palms out like he was surrendering. I messed up. I know that. But we have a family. Owen and Miles need both their parents under one roof. We can fix this. We can get counseling. Not like this. Not with lawyers and court dates and our kids caught in the middle. He took a step toward me and I could smell his cologne. The same cologne he started wearing when Hadley came into our lives, and my skin crawled. I said, you told Owen I was sick. You told Roxanne I was losing my mind. You told Hadley I picked her out for you. You don't know me at all, Russell. You know the version of me that was too tired to question you. That version is gone. Something pulled out of his face. His jaw got tight. The gentle husband act was over. You think a judge is going to hand you full custody because I had a thing with the babysitter? Men do worse every day and keep their kids. You're going to drag our family through court? Put Owen and Miles through depositions and custody evaluations because you're angry? I said, you had custody paperwork drawn up 6 months ago, before I knew anything. While I was working overnight shifts to pay our mortgage, you were already planning your exit. You don't get to stand there and pretend this is something I started. Russell looked down at the papers again. His fingers moved to the second page. He was looking for an escape route. There wasn't one. Every door he had built for himself was closed. The deed trick wouldn't work. The mental health story wouldn't hold. The custody paperwork was built on lies 3 different people could now prove. I could see the moment he realized it because his whole body went still. Then he grabbed his phone. I'm calling Hadley right now. She'll take it back. I know exactly what to say to her. I said, go ahead. Call her. He put the phone to his ear. It rang once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. Voicemail. He stared at the screen and dialed again. It rang and went to voicemail again. He lowered the phone, and I saw something I had never seen on his face in all the years we were married. I saw Russell look small, not angry, not scheming, just small. His shoulders were pulled in. His phone was hanging at his side. He was standing in the house he had put in only his name, the house he thought was his trump card, and he had nothing left to play. I picked up my keys from the counter. The boys are safe. They're with people who actually love them. Your attorney will hear from mine on Monday. I walked toward the door. Behind me, Russell said, you're going to regret this. His voice cracked on the last word, and it sounded less like a threat and more like a man trying to convince himself he still had power over something. I stopped in the doorway. I didn't turn around. No, Russell, I said. You are. I walked out. The door clicked shut behind me. Owen was asleep on Roxanne's couch when I got back, still holding the little toy car in his fist.